Yay!
Hi, shipmates. We have got an exciting day today. So many fun things to share. And we have got a fantastic special guest that you guys are going to absolutely love. But before I get into that, I just want to say real quick, my name is Gina. This is my husband, Jeff. If this is your first time at Anchor Moments, we're coming in at a new time just for this Monday because we do have a special guest and I had some plans, a conflict that I needed to take care of this evening. But I want to tell you, my heart is smiling today because I didn't sleep a lot last night. I never sleep much the night before Jeff has his 3-month cancer screen. January 3rd of 2024, Jeff had his second bladder cancer surgery, and it was very successful. And so every 3 months, he has to make sure the cancer hasn't come back. And today is one of those 3-month checkup days. And so I always get a little bit nervous, but it turned out
clean.
Just wonderful. So he's absolutely clean, no cancer. He just has one more 3-month cancer screen that he has to pass. And after that, he gets to be on the 6-month plan. And then every 6 months, come in for a cancer screen. And his doctor was very, very happy with everything. He did have a little bit of blood in his urine, just a trace amount, but the doctor isn't concerned about it. He said it's going to be fine. Though I wish I didn't know that. The nurse told us that before his cystoscopy. So it made it, made me do a lot of extra prayers, let me tell you. But it turned out just great. So we're really excited about that. Today is my 96th shot of Mounjaro. And it has been a great journey. I just came back from visiting my registered dietitian, Taylor, at Southwest Dietitian Group. She is awesome. Anyone who lives in the Phoenix area of Arizona, I highly recommend them. I've seen both Taylor and I've seen Maya, both registered dietitians, absolutely fantastic. And Jeff and I found out today, Maya had suggested that I take a creatine supplement, and she didn't try to sell it to me. She just said, you can probably pick it up the cheapest at Costco. But she highly recommended it since I'm starting to lift weights and do strength training. And but she said, talk to your doctor first. Well, a week ago Monday, Jeff and I met with our new primary care doctor, and I asked if it'd be okay if I take it because I do have type 2 diabetes, and my doctor said it'd be just fine. She actually uses
Gina,
it herself.
You accidentally hit my hand. It made me click. So now I'm going to have to add Jen to the stage. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want to. Let's see.
You're afraid you're going to lose her?
Well, I was putting my finger right on the clicker so I could click at just the right time, and then you pick this thing up, and you pick right against my hand. So
okay.
I'm just make sure that
some technical difficulties.
So I want to make sure that I can get
things going.
Jen from her computer. I think so. Let's go ahead and take a look if that will work. Yay!
We got Jen.
It works.
But just real quick, my primary care doctor, she takes creatine herself, and she's very fit, and you can tell that she works out. And she said it would be fine, but she did say it was good that I talked to her about it because it can change my labs, my blood labs. So if I start taking this, there's you say it differently. Creatinine is one of the things that shows up in your blood work, that they look at the creatinine to make sure your kidney functions are good, especially when you have type 2 diabetes. And but she said if she's aware that I'm taking this, if it goes up a little bit, she'll be aware it's because of that and not because of my kidneys. And then Jeff wasn't sure if he wanted to start taking it until he talked to his cancer doctor, his urologist who did his cancer surgery. And that visit was today, and it was really funny. We asked him if it would be okay if Jeff took this after he did the cystoscopy and knew there was no cancer, because Jeff was afraid, what if it grows the cancer more when it's growing your cells, muscle cells? He doesn't want, his cancer to have extra food too, but he doesn't have cancer right now. So yay. And his doctor said, sure, Jeff can take that. He said it only truly helps if you are weightlifting. If you're doing strength training, it's extremely helpful. And he says he takes it himself too. So both of the doctors, that Jeff sees, his primary care and his urologist, they're both taking creatine, and they don't sell it at their offices. They just take it as a person. And so I think that's a really good recommendation about creatine.
And it's also good to remember to mention all of your medications to your doctor, especially if you have more than one doctor who's prescribing things, but also to mention any supplements. Just because they're over the counter, they don't require a prescription, does not mean that you don't need to mention that to your doctor.
Right. And Jeff's urologist said the same thing our primary care doctor said. And he said, it's good to let me know in advance you're going to take it, because it can change your blood work. Your creatinine level will change when you're taking this. He said you could stop taking it for a month before you do your blood work, and it should be out of your system by then. But he said, as long as you let your doctors know you're taking it, it should be okay. Because we'll know that that's why your levels have changed a little bit.
Did you ever introduce your guest?
No, so I was going to do that next. We were in the middle of talking about that. Then Jeff was so afraid we were going to lose her because we were having some technical difficulties. We always have our guests show up 15 minutes early so we can make sure the sound and video's fine. And we couldn't get her video on.
So
we
whatever
could hear her,
you did,
but not her video.
Jen,
whatever you did, you fixed it, Jen, on your end, because you look great. And I'm super excited today because we do have Calamity Jane in the house. She has been a member. She's been one of our shipmates here on our Anchor Moments community for a while now. And she has her own YouTube channel, and she's got a very special story to tell because I battled type 2 diabetes. She battles type 1 diabetes. And when Mounjaro first came out, it was only for people with type 2 diabetes and not type 1. So I can tell you that I do have a neighbor who has type 1 diabetes and was a registered dietitian, nurse practitioner. She was a nurse practitioner with type 1 diabetes. And before I took Mounjaro on January 10th of 24, they didn't even have Zepbound out yet. But she wanted to try Mounjaro because she saw patients losing a lot of weight on it that had type 2 diabetes. And she knew she had type 1 and it wasn't for type 1, but she talked with her doctor and asked her doctor if he would let her experiment and have it off label because she was trying to lose about 40 pounds because she was getting a little overweight, but she's not like super duper overweight, but just a little bit. And she wanted to get off about 40 pounds and try it and see what would happen to her blood sugar. Well, she did. She loved it. She lost, I think she lost at least 35 pounds. I don't know if her insurance covered it or if she had to pay for it herself out of pocket, but she did it for a few months. She lost at least 35 pounds, and then she was very happy at her goal weight. So she stopped taking it, but she did say it helped her A1C. It was fine. It didn't hurt her. And she was a nurse practitioner herself, so she knew some things to look at. And she is a smart enough doctor to know that you also need a doctor. So she had her own doctor, but she did do it for a little bit, and then she just keeps up with her exercise. I've not seen her gain any weight back. She looks fabulous, but she did try it for a teeny bit and did her own little experiment on herself, and she loved it. And now I see that we've got Calamity Jane, and she's able to take Zepbound. Calamity Jane, Welcome, and tell us a little bit more about yourself, including she has a lot of cute chickens. You guys are going to love her YouTube channel.
So
she is.
Let me know when you guys are ready for me to
full of cool stuff.
Show the slideshow.
Yeah, we'll show the slideshow in a minute.
You just let me know when.
Okay, yeah. Oop.
Yeah, but we're going to hear a little bit about Calamity Jane's story because you are unique. There's not that many people on type 1 diabetes using Zepbound yet.
Well, apparently, I will say this: I'm discovering them bit by bit. like I don't know. We are hard to get to do studies for, who knows why, because the studies there are studies out there. There's like 7 of them. There are studies for type 1. It still is not, and I do want to say this at the top, it still is not approved for type 1. It's still considered experimental and all the things. But
so it's still experimental for you too then.
It's still experimental, but I'm able to do Zepbound because of BMI.
Right.
Okay.
So, and that's how my primary got around it. However, tomorrow he's going to get an earful, and we'll get to why, about I want to do, for insurance purposes, trying to look at getting on Mounjaro just because it's covered, but it will take some creative writing skills on the doctor's part, but based in fact, and I'll get to that, based in fact. So
okay.
Do you just want to start like with my diabetes journey, or where you want to go? Yeah. So age of, gosh, if I'm a person of faith, and I always joke with my family, like if I imagine heaven is kind of one of these places where we get to do a lot of laughing, a lot of eating. All my favorite foods will be there, favorite people, all the things, right? And that, occasionally we can ask God, like, if we can relive moments that we were not either conscious for or we just want to relive, right? So my diabetes, how I got diagnosed is the story I want to relive, because my family telling me what happened that night is, imagine your best sort of family comedy, like Chevy Chase style comedy, and those things happened, right?
Okay.
And so, but around the age of 14 years old, the week prior, it's February, the week prior, I was exhibiting all, the symptoms, the fatigue, the tiredness. I was standing at my locker at one point, and my two locker mates beside me, like, because at one point I kind of collapsed under myself and they had to kind of pick me up and stuff. And, and to talk, if you just want to get an image of me at 14, body habitus and all that, I ran track. I was one of the top, people on track and stuff, fit, all the things, right? Now, prior to this, I did have to go to the doctor because I did have this will become important later. I did have a toenail infection that had to get treated. So my doctor did treat that. And so probably a couple of weeks after that is when all these symptoms started happening. The thirstiness, the frequent urination, all of those things were happening. And so at the time, and this is important, especially for anybody, and I'm kind of saying some of these symptoms, and what I'm about to say here, especially if you have young children or people with young children, it almost looks like flu symptoms, because when you repeat some of the symptoms back, because my doctor did the same. And again, if you're not in front of the patient running the test, it's going to be just their best guess. They were like, oh, and it's February, cold, waning, cold and wet in February, right? So they're thinking flu. So what do we do? Feed a cold, So it's like I'm getting orange juice, I'm getting Sprite, I'm getting all these things that you give to people, and it's just bringing my sugar up. So at one point, I go to change because my sister was at either a theater competition or she was something. And so we knew we were going to go to the emergency room and get me there. But at some point, because I was changing into whatever I was going to wear, and I guess I fell to the floor or did something. So, my father, parents, everybody, we load up in the car, and we're about 20 minutes. I grew up in the rural area. We're about 20 minutes from the nearest hospital. So, my dad, gets on the phone with the local sheriff and says, I will be heading into town and I will be driving very fast. And so the sheriff was like, I'll be in front of you and get you into town. So I had a police escort to the hospital, because that's how cool I am.
Yeah.
Right. So Now, again, from this moment, these are things I've been told, not remembering, right?
Were you still passed out?
I would still more than likely pass out. There's moments of like, okay, there's certain things I kind of remember here and there. But
And you're
later
just
on,
14, and you've never had
14.
diabetes with the
Never had
diagnosis
diabetes.
before.
Now is type 2 diabetes in the runs in the family? Yes, it does. And even I had an aunt that had type 1. She unfortunately she passed away very young due to something different. Which I later like my whole life I thought she passed away due to type 1 complications, but actually she did not. She passed away due to she had a penicillin allergy. And
Oh,
so, but imagine thinking as a type 1 that someone else in your family, like I literally thought my entire life she passed away due to type 1, and that marked my entire life. That my whole goal for a while was to get past a certain age, because that's the age she passed away at. She was like in her 20s. And then later on, I found out I was doing ancestry stuff and found out it's like, oh, she didn't even pass away due to diabetic complications. And so imagine, but I didn't find this out till my 40s. And like my whole life has been marked by this thought in my head, right?
yeah.
Anyway, so we get to the hospital. It took, apparently when your blood, so what happens to your blood is ketoacidosis. So ketoacidosis, it's a acidic. Acidosis is acid, keto, that sugar component. Basically my blood was, imagine, have any of y'all cooked caramel on the stove? Made your own caramel?
Yeah, I've cooked caramel before.
So that's what's happening to my blood at this point, because I go into a state of ketoacidosis, and then I'll do the punchline here in a minute, how high my blood sugar was. And so by this point, apparently, when I did finally become 2, I meet my doctor, who I will love this doctor forever. And the first thing he says to me is, "You're much nicer than when you came in." And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is I did not curse. I thought I was one of those, I was a hoity-toity little head of my class kind of thing. Like, it's like, I don't curse when I can use other words, right? But anyway, right. And so he's like, yeah, you're much nicer than when you came in. It's like, well, I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, oh yeah, it took 4 orderlies to bring you in from the car. Remember, I was a tiny little girl. It took 4 orderlies to get me in. Because apparently I was just thrashing, and apparently whatever curse words were coming that I had been suppressing 14 years of my life came out of my mouth. So, and Grant, I do the question, I'll catch it. But anyway, long story short, and after that, and there's some other funny moments in there, but we won't get to all of them. But when it was all said and done, and I was kind of in and out for 4 days. I don't know if I was in a medically induced coma or anything like that, or just sort of in a fugue state, if you will. But my blood sugar was 1,300.
I didn't even know there was such a thing that high.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap. You guys, for those of you who aren't diabetic and you don't play around with blood sugar numbers, you want to hang out around 100, 120, right around in there is the green zone. So 1,300.
I mean, think about it. Well, I was probably headed. I mean, think about it. I had been fueling my body that entire week because they were thinking it was the flu or something, with orange juice, with soda, with all the things. And so it's insane. I mean, it was insane. But he got, again, I will forever remain amazing to this. I would have kept this doctor had I not gone to college, but I went to college, so I had to change doctors by that point. He was an amazing doctor, and he got under control. And he had several diabetic patients, type 1s, that he had gotten. I mean, they were on some very extreme dieting, like one of those 500 calories or less a day kind of dieting things. He had got them kind of where they didn't need a whole lot of insulin. I never went that route. I had to learn how to, inject myself. So they give you an orange before you leave the hospital, and you have to learn to inject, get practicing injecting yourself. And then, at some point you have to inject yourself before they let you leave the hospital. And so I know Grant had a question. Is there a main difference between type 2 and type 1? Increased.
So let's go through here. And Grant was so sweet. He gave us a super chat. Thank you so much, Grant. And he says, just crash helmet. fund. Oh my gosh. And he did have QQQ, a bunch of
He did. He did.
questions.
Yeah.
You see where Grant is? There it is.
About, yeah. And so the main difference, and then Barb did answer, but ultimately it is type 1, your pancreas at the end of the day is producing little to no insulin at all. And then whereas type 2 is that your body is producing that insulin, but there is resistance. Now type 2s can eventually require insulin because, either the pancreas is just like, okay, you don't want to use me, then I'm done. I'm packing up and done. But type 1 is more than likely going to be on some form of insulin unless they're doing some sort of the different
No
some of the stem cell that out there and then the replacement. But it's ultimately what has been since, if you really want to dive into the science, like if y'all ever want to do, y'all should do a book club. Actually, I think that'd be a book club of different types of as many diabetics that are running around. There's a beautiful book called Think Like a Pancreas that's really good, and then there's a couple of other books. But ultimately with type 1, your pancreas has alpha cells and beta cells. So the alpha cells, and again, like fact checkers in the chat, correct any words I don't say correctly, but so the alpha cells from the pancreas produce the glucagon, and that's sort of, that's the sugar, that's the glucose, things of that, and it interacts with, your liver and all that good stuff. And then the beta cells are the insulin. But what ends up happening with type 1s, something's attacking it. So what was also discovered upon my hospitalization, because remember I said I had that toenail infection?
Yes.
Apparently I also had an inner ear infection that no one caught at the time. And I mean, who's looking for that, right? If I'm going in for a toenail infection, no one's saying let me check for other infections. So more than likely my body was in this, we're attacking everything and anything. And so the beta cells were a part of that. Now, there is some early science. We don't have to get too heavy into this. One of the things they're looking at now is they're trying to kind of figure out what's creating that attack to happen, like what's turning in your body that it's attacking those beta cells. And then trying to kind of circumvent that and capture it before it happens, or replace the beta cells, if you will. Again, that's getting into more science than I've researched, but it's an interesting reality. But there's plenty of different, and then other versions of they're not type 1, but you get steroid induced type 1. You can have surgical induced. You get, if some sort of damage or injury happens to the pancreas, you're more than likely going to end up on insulin and things of that nature.
So is that considered like an autoimmune response? Or
it is. So yeah. So type 1 is considered autoimmune. So yeah. But they're looking at ways to kind of dig into it. So I mean, we'll see what happens. And like I said, the research is out there to kind of do that replacement of the stem cells. It has one of the best names, like where these are produced. It's the islets of Langerhans. It's like I don't know if y'all were Game of Thrones fans, but it sounds like a Game of Thrones kingdom. But it's the islets of Langerhans. It's like the best name in the world. So yeah, but that's where all those things get produced at and everything.
Wow.
So that's sort of go ahead.
It's a possibility that what caused your type 1 diabetes was your body trying to fight the infection in your ear, the infection in your toe, and it just went nuts.
It just went in overdrive. It just went overdrive. Yep. Yeah.
And attacked your pancreas.
Yeah. And it's a possibility. I mean, it is a possibility, but there certainly be just different reasons. And then, like I said, some of the science today they're even indicated that it could just be something that's already, like, even at the pre, what word am I looking for? Before we are even out of our mother's stomach, something could be happening, and they're trying to kind of determine when and where it's happening. So.
Yeah. And is there a heredity? I know there's a heredity factor for people with type 2 diabetes, that a lot of times it's, you're more likely to get it if it's in your genes, that other people in your family have type 2 diabetes. There's a lot of people who are extremely overweight and they never get type 2 diabetes or type 1. They just never get it, even though that they're overweight. So and there's some people that are skinny who get type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And
Well,
so
yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned, with the body habits and stuff. So typically, and some of the research even on this has changed. So again, the majority of mine, I've had it for over 30 years now. The majority of that time, it was always not hereditary, not hereditary. There is some indication that it's one of those things, the right combination of genetics, but that's everything, right? The right combination of genetics will get you there. We have, again, I'm a person of faith and also a person of science. And, it's one, and I think Grant, we kind of talked about this on the last live, but, it's ultimately, the right combination of chemicals and in DNA and all those things are going to get you something, right? We're going to roll out somewhere. But typically the body habitus for type 1s, and because it's one of the indicators, is, super skinny and things like that. Your body's not, holding on to the things it needs to hold on to, because again, insulin is open. It's a lot. I usually have I usually, because I teach sometimes the work that I do. I used to teach about diabetes and diabetic complications like every 6 weeks. But anyway, so ultimately there's like insulin is a lock and key system. So insulin is a
okay.
thing that unlocks your cell. So if you can imagine, the lock and key, what gets all the things, the energy, whether it's fat cells, the broken down sugar, all the things to enter our cell, insulin is the thing that unlocks the cell to get all those things inside the cell, right? And so typically that slim body habitus is usually what is typical of a type 1. So much so that throughout my life, after my initial diagnosis, when I went to college, when I have moved around, every time I get a new doctor, their first question, "Are you sure you're a type 1?" Because again, I gained weight because I stopped doing a lot of athletic stuff, things like that. And so, that's usually their first question. I said, "Well, here's my origin story." And then they're like, "I think I want to run a C-peptide test." And C-peptides, basically, and again, my fact checkers, feel free to put the Google of C-peptide test in there. But ultimately, the C-peptide is the residual of insulin in your body doing its thing. So it releases those C-peptides. And so for people without it, I'm not going to have a lot of C-peptides in my body. And so every single time I say I've had, this is my origin story, but if you want to do it again, feel free. You should not charge insurance because it's just going to come back and tell you I'm a type 1, but they still do it. And then the next appointment, yeah, you're a type 1. It's like,
I
facts.
told you.
It's like, but have fun dealing with insurance for proving something that's been true for all these years. So, but long-term use of insulin can create resistance, right? So it's kind of too much of a good thing, can sort of, that resistance can be created. Body habitus, how I'm eating, inactivity, all those things can, and the impact on, because I mean, look at all the things we're learning about GLP-1s and how GLP-1s interact with insulin, the glucagon. I mean, it's like this relationship. So it's sort of, it's this whole dance that all these chemicals and hormones are doing inside the body. So the impact on my GLP-1s, I'm sure, are impacted by the lack of insulin over time and things like that. But yeah, I know there's other I don't want to get lost if there's questions and stuff like that.
No.
But yeah.
We'll answer those questions.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, so what that gets me, and I don't, if y'all want to show the slides while I do this, but ultimately over time, I had a lot of weight on me through college, and that was I went to the university I went to was one of those spread out universities where one class was one class on one side of the campus and the other class way over on the other side. And the amount of cramps I would get in my leg trying to, we'll talk about some of these pictures here in a second, but the amount of, weight on my body and I think my first attempt at a Weight Watchers program was in maybe 2002, 2000. 3 because the school offered it. I
Okay.
think I was interested in it, but because I was not a college student that I got to college on grants and a GPA, not on just this amount of money in my world. So it was just not cost effective for me to do it. But then in 2000, so that weight kind of went with me my whole life. I did. About maybe 2007, I did kind of focus on just eating less and doing activity, and I did lose some weight. And then eventually in 2011, so 2011 was a big year for me. My father had gotten a diagnosis of kidney failure. I think he was stage 3
Shoot.
or 4 at the time, and that was and he had and basically the diagnosis of that was you got to be on dialysis. So that was like a September of 2011, and so at that point, he was a type he had since between my diagnosis and some years added on, he had gotten diagnosed with type 2, and I just saw, you witness the impact of type 2 and this in impact of type 2. So
And he lost his
my
kidneys with his
go
type
ahead,
2 diabetes.
say that again.
So your dad lost his kidneys, use of his kidneys because of type 2 diabetes.
Correct. And then just, the weight gain and things like that. He didn't participate in a lot of the programs that were available to him. And I understand, I mean, getting diagnosed, I think we're in a different day and age. I see a lot of us who are taking their health. The one thing about this community is, and I know science has to get there. Science
Mhm,
has to get to a place. Access to things have to get to a place.
mhm.
But I see so many people in this community that that I'm a big Doctor Who fan, right? And a Marvel fan. And so it's like if there were a superpower, right? Go back in time and bring the GLPs to a version of my to a version of my dad, right? Because it's just powerful what these medicine not only it's not even the medicine that's the catalyst.
Okay.
It's the choices people are making to take a stand about their health
Mhm.
around this medicine.
Yeah.
That's what's amazing. This is go ahead.
Yeah, what I feel about that, because I agree. I
Yeah,
agree, Calamity Jane, big
yeah,
time. The medicine is a tool,
right,
and it's the tool you need to give you the strength and the durability to be able
right,
to do all these healthy things that you've been trying to do off and on
right,
during your life, but it makes it easier for you to be able to do it. But if you just take it as a tool and you don't do the things,
right,
it doesn't work that great. It just works a little bit.
right.
The real magic is that using it as a tool while you're doing all the healthy
Yes,
lifestyle things, and it
right,
makes it easier to do them, but you still have to decide every day, to get your exercise, to make sure you're
right.
eating fruits and vegetables and getting protein and all that stuff.
Right. And all of I mean, it's just beautiful. And just seeing people just advocating for themselves and understanding their bodies and that and this is where I was going to get, when he got that diagnosis, I kind of like, okay, type 2, there are things he has to do. I'm type 1. So it's not a if,
Not a
it's
choice.
right. Like
Do it or
these are the
die.
complications down the road if you don't get your act together. So that was September
Mhm.
2011. And then I did the one thing that people people say not to do, right? Don't start a diet plan or exercise plan for New Year's. January 2012, I signed up for Weight Watchers. We did whatever deal they had, and I signed up. I think March of that year because my focus was okay. Let me figure out Weight Watchers, and then in March, a friend invited me to start doing Zumba. By 2013, January 2013, I think I maybe hit 90 pounds lost, and by March I was 100 pounds lost by then. And I hit Lifetime. I did the thing. They asked me to be a leader, all that stuff. I was a
Okay.
leader for a year because the one thing I was not thinking about was how do I live the rest of my life this way. So life happened between 2013 and 2014, you moved to a different area, got a different type of job that sort of my hours were no longer my own, is all I will say there. I did not have the same hours in the day when I took the new job. And then the commute was, I mean, everybody knows about tough commutes, right? And then, yeah, life happened. I stopped paying attention to what I was eating.
Probably stopped the
I stopped
Zumba.
being I was in this picture, I was doing Zumba 5 times a week for an hour each time. Like I had to chase my calories. So what do I mean by chase our calories? So I would do a Zumba class, burn whatever I would burn. Y'all remember when Pizza Hut did those 3 mini pizzas for a little while?
Okay.
That was my dinner after Zumba because I needed to get those calories back somehow.
Wow.
So, but I was doing Zumba 5 days a week, like I loved it and lived it, right? So anyway, life happened after 2014, gained the weight back. So by the time let's go ahead and just fast forward to 20 August of, oh, this is gardening stuff. That giant pile of dirt right there had to go into those. So that's good activity. I get a lot of garden activity with activity. But by 20, where's my brain at? 2022, August of 2022, my doctor looks at me and says, actually, this is my endo, looks at me and says, hey, you want to try Trulicity? And I'm like, I had heard about some stuff. It's like, I don't want the gastric issues. The only thing I heard about stuff was gastroparesis. It can cause gastroparesis. It can do all these other things, pancreatitis. And I'm sitting here looking, it's like, I have lived, because by that point I was in my 40s. And it's like, I have lived my life avoiding diabetic complications. Why do I want gastroparesis? And why do I want
Yeah. That made
pancreatitis?
me scared for Mounjaro initially too.
Right. Right. It was, so that was August of 2022. And then come the next year, my primary doctor asked me. So 2023, my primary doctor asked me. It's like, yeah, I'm not interested. 2024, and my other endo asked me if I wanted to do it, and I'm like, no. And y'all are probably screaming out there. It's like, this is when the prices were normal. And it's like, and I'm saying no to a medicine when the prices were reasonable. But then did I?
No,
Okay, you're there. So then,
we just
yeah,
made you big.
big. Oh, thank you.
Concentrating on your story.
Oh, you're
It's
so
just
fun.
showing
Thank you.
pictures that aren't about your story, so it's kind of silly.
No, it's kind of it works out. Y'all can see things. But then so this is May of 2025. So July of 2025, my doctor says I'm at 292, and my doctor says, my primary goes, we've got to do something about your weight. And I'm like, oh, but I don't want. He's like, we've got to do something. And he go, you're type 1. This is what, because I do also take blood cholesterol medicine, and then I do take blood pressure for both because my blood pressure has increased. But also they give sometimes type 2, not all the times, but type 1s, they give blood pressure even if you don't have blood pressure. They'll give it to you because they want to protect your kidneys. They want to give you a diuretic to protect your kidneys. So all of those things, he's looking at me. It's like, look, I call myself a very blessed type 1 diabetic because I have not always lived this discipline, right? I'd have moments, but not always. So especially in my 40s, to have gotten here knowing sort of my history with how I managed the disease. So I just told myself, like, back, same sort of mindset that I got myself into by 2012. It's like I've got to manage this going into, I'm 46 now, going into my 50s. I have to be the one managing this disease and not the other way around. So he looked at me and he just says, look, if you don't like it, you don't want to take it, stop taking it. You just stop taking it, but just try it. Okay. So that's July 10th of this year. I get, he did try Mounjaro, but they denied me, saying it was experimental for type 1s. And so he's like, okay, we'll just go the BMI route. So we do Zepbound. I took the first shot on July 16th, and I have not looked back since then. So, and there's June of last year. And so, ultimately it was, I woke up that next morning. I had the most energy I've had. In my reality, I had like the pain, the inflammation, all those things were gone. right?
Okay.
So then I go, because I knew all the things I'm supposed to do because I'm watching all your channels, and they said, do this for breakfast, do this, make sure you
Mhm.
get your protein in, make sure you get your fiber in, all the things. So I made myself a smoothie. I think it was 20. I think my smoothie ends up being like 22 carbs when it's all said and done with the net carbs or 22 net carbs. So carbs minus
Okay.
fiber, net carbs. So 22 net carbs. So I did my bolus, so my insulin pump, and there is a video talking about bolus and basals with insulin pumps. Y'all can go watch. But I did my bolus for my insulin that morning. I had my smoothie. I think about 2 hours later, my sensor is going off, letting me know that my sugar is dropping. I can start feeling the symptoms. My blood sugar is going from 70 to 60, getting down into the 50s. It's like, this isn't good. I take one of my I do one of my gels, my glucose gels, and get that
Mhm.
going. And then I write a nice little letter to my in my chart to my doctors and say, started Zepbound this date. Here are my blood sugar readings from the last 24 hours. And they basically do some adjustments to so with the insulin pump, I mean, I'll show this real quick. With the insulin pump, and I'll just get to this real
Yeah.
quick, and then we can,
Okay.
how do I do this? What I want delivery settings. Okay, so with the insulin pump, and glare, go away. So
There we go.
you see here where it goes carb ratio and insulin sensitivity factor. So the carb ratio basically means how much insulin per every 10 gram of carbs
Okay.
that I'll take. And then the insulin sensitivity is basically if you need to correct, like your insulin's going up, what is the correction factor to deal with that elevated blood sugar. So my doctor made those adjustments, and I haven't had to adjust since then. And so why is this important? Basically, I'm not getting super highs. I'm not getting super lows anymore. I think I tell the story on my channel, like
Mm.
I mean, it's absolutely insane. So one of the things that we have on insulin pumps is called a temp basal. And so a temp basal is when, if I want to exercise, if I know I'm about to do some heavy activity, or I know that it's going to be a while before I eat, something like that, I'm out and about shopping or doing whatever, you can give yourself a temp basal, because activity, when you're a good cardio activity or a lot of walking, things like that, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. For every minute of walking, your insulin will, your glucose will drop by that
Okay.
by 1 point. So it's 1-to-1. So if I do a 15-minute heavy activity, my insulin can drop by 15. So temp basal is for if I know, like, let's say my blood sugar was 100 when I woke up this morning, but I wanted to do 40 minutes of Zumba. Well, if I'm going to do 40 minutes of Zumba, and with my insulin, if I want to do 40 minutes of Zumba and my blood glucose is at 100, then it's going to drop by 40, and I don't want that to happen. But then at the same token, so what I used to do is I would have to wake up 2 hours before I wanted to work out, see what my blood sugar was. If it was in the 130s, 140s, great, I do my workout, no issue. But if my blood sugar was anything like in the 120s and below, I would need to start my temp basal. And because the temp basal, I know I'm getting a lot of information, but we'll get back to, hopefully y'all can see that. So when you set the temp basal, it will set the target at 150. So that means it will stop the basal, it will stop any bolusing so that your blood sugar can go to 150, and then it will start releasing a basal rate of insulin. And so I would have to set this almost 2 hours ahead of time just to get a workout in, because I needed my blood sugar to increase. That was my life before July 16th, of always playing this game of what my blood sugar, my blood glucose. Because if it was too low, I had to wait. If it was too, if it was too high, then I was fine. Now I don't have to do any of that. Like, go ahead.
Wow.
I don't have to do any
Yeah.
of it. Like, somehow, like, because did I do Zumba this morning? Yeah, I did Zumba this morning. I mean, it's insane. And I know this is a lot. I know this is a lot of geeky talk, but this is literally my line. It stays that flat no matter what I'm doing since I've been on Zepbound.
Wow.
It stays that flat.
And so that means that your blood sugar is level where you want it to be
Where you want
without
it to
doing
be.
super high spikes and dropping way too
Correct.
low.
Yeah,
It's just staying
I can
even
wake up.
Steven where you
Yeah,
want it.
correct. I can wake up at 90 and my do my Zumba, my blood sugar's at 98.
Wow.
It's not
Wow.
dropping that low anymore. It's insane to me.
My
And then in
friend
my yeah.
who has type 1 diabetes, who is a nurse practitioner who had her doctor give it
Mhm.
to her off label, she said it was great for her blood sugar.
It's
She
insanely
said it was
great.
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it stabilizes everything. Like it correct because again, I'm not taking a whole lot of more insulin to try to correct stuff. So
Right.
then I'm not having these crazy lows. And then because if anybody that has had low blood sugar, like you become a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Like everything you want food. Like my biggest thing, like when my blood sugar gets low, I want every box of Raisin Bran on the planet. And we know Raisin Bran. I love Raisin Bran. I'm not going to really say anything bad about them. But if just because it has raisin, it just because there's raisins in its brand is not equal to is it the wisest carb choice?
Yeah, and they put sugar on the raisins, and raisins
Correct.
have a lot of natural
Just
sugar in
sugar,
it, so they put
exactly.
sugar on top of
Sugar.
the raisins
But I
with all
love
the
it.
little
I love it. I
crannies
would
in
eat
it.
bowls of
Sugar
it
in the
when my blood
pan
sugar
too.
would go up.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, it's been so stable. And I did a recent thing because I wanted someone had asked me kind of how it's impacted my blood sugar and insulin intake because I'm trying, it's that insurance period. So I'm trying to see if I have to pay out of pocket for Zepbound, what do I need to do about what am I gaining cost or is it a net cost because I'm not needing as much insulin? So I wanted to kind of do a comparison.
Right.
So pre-July,
Okay.
I was maybe doing 80. I showed on my channel. So I did 60-day. I did 2 moments of 30-day periods before July. So May and in June. I was doing anywhere from 88 to 110 amount of units of insulin every day. Then I came back and did, because this records everything, right?
Right.
Then I went back and I looked at September and October. So pre-Zepbound, I was doing anywhere from 80 to 110 units of insulin. These past 60 days, 45 units of insulin on a daily basis.
Wow. That's
I've
a
been able to
big
cut my
increase.
insulin almost in half, if not
Wow.
more. My total daily dose of insulin since being on Zepbound.
Wow.
And it's stable.
The stable part's really important too,
Yeah.
because not only with your blood sugar going too low and making you feel like a Tyrannosaurus Rex wanting to
Right.
eat everything, if it goes really low like that and you're sleeping, it can kill you. I mean, you can't
100%. And so
you die that day. It's not like, it takes a while to die when it's too high, but you die that day.
So Gina, I love you because you just set up a nice little assist for me. I don't watch basketball, but I know what an assist is. That is why the FDA doesn't want to approve it yet.
What?
So the FDA, type 1 diabetes and the fear of low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, which you just described, is why the FDA is anytime a medicine or device, and I'll get to that in a minute, impacts or can impact blood sugar on the low side, it is a waiting game for the FDA to approve it for the very reason you just said.
Because it
Because I can
might
die
kill someone.
in a day.
Because
Yeah,
low blood
it's
sugar.
okay.
So this is an insulin pump, a device made for insulin. It took 3 years for the FDA to approve after every other country approved it.
Wow.
It took 3 years because so this is becoming a whole different show. So my apologies on this.
No, it's very, I don't know, it's fascinating to me. I can imagine there's going to be viewers that are watching that are fascinated too.
Right.
So I don't know enough I know a little bit about type 1, but not enough.
Right.
I know a ton about type 2, but
right.
it's
So
really
one of the
interesting.
Yeah, so one of the other numbers in here, and I won't show it because I always forget how to get to it some days, but we are able to set like a target a target, like where we're trying, up or down, like, so if it's too low, when to stop that basal unit. So basal is sort of that low dose of insulin going through your body. So if anybody that has had type 2 or type 1 and they take like that nighttime or the long acting insulin, that's a basal insulin. So so this is, and like people, the non-diabetics in the room, they have a consistent rate of insulin that pumps through their body, right? So the basal rate is what acts at and then bolus is when when you're about to eat something, you get that big dose of insulin to cover eating or to cover because your insulin is going too high and you need to correct it. So this has a temp target. So not back up. This has a target rate that basically this is where, whether up or down, this is where I want my insulin to live.
Okay.
So prior to this pump, and then Dexcom, the other companies have the same. The other insulin companies have the same feature. The highest and lowest we could go was 120. We could set ours to that. I want this pump to always try to keep my insulin at 120. When they came out with this pump here, they allowed it to go anywhere from 100 to 120. They won't let it go below 100.
Okay.
Now there are people that know how to do the rewiring and all those things and make that happen, but they won't go below 100 for fear of hypoglycemia. Because a lot of people can't feel the symptoms. I still thankfully can feel the symptoms of a low. Like I start feeling symptoms of a low around 80, somewhere in there. And then I used to have, this is a side note, my little dog that I had for 16 years, he would wake me up if I was asleep. And they actually train dogs to do that.
Yeah. They can smell it on you. They can smell it.
There's a chemical change. Yeah, there's a chemical change. And so because my dog, it was a little Chihuahua mix, because my dog slept in the bed with me, he would, because I had him from puppy to when he passed, but he would wake. Now the first 2 times I was like, why you keep waking me up? And then finally, because I woke up and then I felt something off. It's like, well, let me take my blood sugar. And then by the second and third time he did it, I kind of figured out what he was doing.
Wow.
Yeah,
And it's yeah, and I'll have to share this with the community, because Prevention, y'all remember Prevention magazine that you get in the store?
Yes.
They did a story. They did a story about how, you can pay like $4,000 to get your dog trained to do this. And so I wrote a letter to the editor and say, well, my dog learned how to do it. Just have your dog sleep with you. And so I'm actually in Prevention magazine from back in the day. I'll have to post it on my page one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of fun. So yeah, so that's, I know that was a lot, and there's probably more details, but that's my origin story, and this is where I'm at today.
This is great. I want you to know, Calamity Jane, I mentioned this on a lot of different videos. I do every video for the power of one.
Oh wow.
And I pray that there's at least one person in the world that listens to it and goes, oh, and it makes a difference for them. Yeah. And that somehow there's one person out there that it makes a difference for them. That really needs that message. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a message that brings them joy. Maybe it's a message that makes them forgive somebody. Maybe it's a message that makes them go, okay, I think I will take Mounjaro. My doctor wants me to take it, but I've been scared. Yeah. But now I think I am willing to try it, or whatever. But there's going to be at least one person somewhere. If this video can help one, it's worth my time and effort to put it together and to do it. And Jane, having you on my show, wow. There is it. I mean, it's always great to have more than one, but I always do at least one. It's worth it. But holy Toledo, Jane, you may be saving lives all over the world with this story. Well, this is really important information. Yeah. And this is very important information.
Yeah. And I hope that, and I understand studies. I understand why the FDA waits, because that is, unfortunately, and I think there's been people in our community that have lost loved ones because they either the pump malfunctioned or they didn't catch the symptoms. And that's what I'm saying. If you, especially young, if you have young kids and they're exhibiting, is it the flu, is it the cold, but they're just the normal tricks are not working, get them get their A1C like get them to a
Mhm.
ER, let them test, because a lot of it mimics other diseases, and get it
And
tested
as
for
a
sure.
parent, Calamity Jane, as a parent, if your kids made it to 14 years old
Right.
and you bring them in for their well checks and no one says they have diabetes, and you're not noticing a
Right.
lot of diabetes in your family, or maybe type 2 for chubby older adults, but
Right.
not, not kids in your family, don't have that history, you're not going to think that that could be a possibility.
Right.
So
Right.
there may be some mom right out there right now that you're going to say, and it could be really fast. I
Right.
know when I started talking about my hysterectomy before I
Mhm.
had it, and I started talking about the embarrassing things,
Right.
the embarrassing symptoms and stuff. And I even, when I talked about the first time, I said, okay, guys, put your fingers in your ears, 'cause you're not, and just go la 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 la
Right.
for a few minutes. But I'm going to talk about postmenopausal bleeding for a minute, because it's going to save somebody's life, because
It
I didn't
will.
know what it
Yeah.
was. And I'm
Yeah.
an old adult and no one ever told me about it.
Right.
And if my mom wouldn't have mentioned it to me, I would be dead a year from now. But
Right.
instead, I mentioned it to my mom and she said, you got to get that checked.
Right.
And
And
so
it's
everything
so
was
important. Yeah.
it's
It's
so
so important.
important. But the day that I said that and I told people to put the guys to put their fingers in their ears and go la la la, Claudia was listening. And she had a drop of blood the day before. And it
Wow.
was so light and tiny and just a
Right.
light little pink. She wasn't even sure if it was blood.
Right.
And she looked at her totally, like she was 61, like, she hadn't had
Right.
a period for a while. Like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And and then she thought, I don't know. And she flushed it down and then didn't think about it.
Right.
And then the next day she listened to my show and went, oh crap, maybe I need to go see my doctor. Because
Right.
like I said, even if it's a drop, go see. And she had stage 1 uterine cancer.
Wow. Which
But
is
they
one of
caught
the
it
yeah.
fast. Stage
You
1. She's alive.
and and if you so this is the thing. If you have insurance, if you don't and you go through other means, get your pre-screen. Like, I'm going to say this, and you can erase it and put the disclaimer that I said it. If you are someone that has insurance and they cover every pre-cancer screening, use every one of them. That
Yeah.
makes sense to use. Obviously,
Yeah.
if don't use, but running like I sometimes joke with my husband because he's so bad about making his. This isn't Jeff. I know you go to your doctor, so this isn't to you, but he
Oh
does
no,
not.
there's a Jeff story.
There's a
I
Jeff
almost
story. Got
killed
it.
him
Okay.
myself.
We don't need to hear what
That
you
may
have.
need to be a whole nother like topic
Yeah,
that we
Oh
all do,
yeah.
like how to get your husbands to
there's
the
another
doctor. So
video about that.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. So I use with right. It's like, look, I'm going to take you off my insurance if you're not using it because it'd be cheaper. But otherwise, you need to. This is good insurance. Go use it. Get every screening in the world, and it's so important. And then the unfortunate reality is, younger groups of people, especially with the cancer, younger groups of people are getting it, and then
Are getting
uh
cancer different times.
female screenings, you've got to get it because if there's one, as we know, not a lot of them have blood tests for it, but then not a lot of people are going to the doctor are getting their comprehensive all the time, right? And so it's so important that we're making that, especially as women, we're going to our appointments and getting those things
Yeah.
checked.
And everybody who has insurance, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the
Right.
United States, every insurance I've ever been on, you get one free doctor visit a year called
Right.
your wellness check. And
Right.
one of the things they have you do as a man and as a woman, they have you pee in a cup.
Right.
And you all have to pee in a cup once a year.
So if you haven't peed in a cup for a while,
Yeah, you need to do
You'll
it
do it.
every year. And you know what? Even if that urine is yellow, it can have microscopic blood in it.
Yes.
And for men, if they have that microscopic blood in it, they might ask you to see a urologist, and they can catch cancer really fast from that.
Right.
That's why I was really nervous this morning. Jeff still had a trace amount of blood in his urine, so I was like, "Oh crap!" That's
Right.
how we ended up with cancer the first time. It was blood in the urine, but it was a very small amount. And they said,
Right.
no, not to worry, because sometimes your prostate will release a little bit of blood sometimes.
Right.
And they asked, the nurse who told us that he had a trace amount of blood in his urine said, "Do you still have your prostate, sir?" And he said, "Yes." And she said, "Okay, well, sometimes it's your prostate sometimes will, for whatever reason, might get
Got it.
balked or something and just have
Right.
like a little trace amount.
That
And
makes
that's
sense.
what his was. So his was fine this time. But sometimes it's a sign that you have bladder cancer because it'll show blood in there. Same
Got
thing
it.
for women. If you're postmenopausal, you could still pee yellow at your annual visit, but they can look at that yellow and test it and go, oh, son of a gun, there's some blood in here.
Right.
And you haven't had a period in the last 3 years because you're
Right.
old now and went through menopause, but you got some blood in there. That's
Right.
unusual. Let's do
It's so
some more of
important,
that.
yeah. And get your colonoscopies and get all the
Yeah,
things. Just go through it and get it.
all
And
the same.
because it, while the preparation and the test might be inconvenient, it will save you from a lot more inconvenience later. So just
Exactly.
get those tests
And if you
done.
catch
So, yeah.
things early, you
Better.
can be healed,
Right.
you know,
And that's
and
why I've always, in a weird way, and I don't even know who I was sharing. I think I was in someone else's chat, and I was talking about, um, oh, someone said that I was blessed, and I said, yeah, I am blessed. He's like, I said, and then I go, I could do without this type 1 diabetes, but in fact, that's probably been more of a blessing than it's probably been more of a blessing having this than it hasn't, because someone is looking at my body and my labs every 3 months. Either I'm going to my primary every 6 months, I'm going to my endocrine. So in that interval, someone is taking blood from this body and urine and all the things and looking at me and staring at me, making sure I'm okay. And I've been blessed to have good medical teams throughout the way. For major issue, because prior to diabetes, and not to throw this in because I don't want to go back to the origin story. I was asthmatic from 5 to 13. And, I even had to stay in the hospital because my lung had something happened with my lung that the doctor was like, you have the lungs of your left lung is like a 65-year-old man. And I'm
oh
like,
no.
okay. And that was like 9 at the time. But
Oh,
yeah, and so I had to stay in for that. And so I literally went from being an asthmatic all those years and finally getting that to then becoming type 1 diabetic. So there's an asterisk about how much prednisone and steroids had to do with my pancreas malfunctioning as well. But that's a whole, because that is a connection, is because high use of steroid medication can impact your pancreas. So yeah, so it's called, I think it's called what, steroid induced diabetes. So,
Wow.
but
wow.
yeah, it's all I mean, it's everywhere.
Is
So
that why you go by Calamity Jane for your YouTube channel?
no, we did. So when I say I am from the country. I am full blood. I mean, I think I say on my channel I'm from Texas, so not I am born Texan, right? And so we used to do CB radios growing
Okay.
up. So it's my handle. Calamity Jane's my
Oh,
Wow.
CB
Calamity
handle.
Jane.
So I
How
figured
fun.
since YouTube has handles, why not go back? And it's a form of communication.
Sure.
Why not bring it back? So yeah, we used to talk to the truckers, talk to each other, all the things.
Oh,
So
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
And
was
I,
fun.
I love your real name, Jennifer.
Yeah,
When I was pregnant with my son, his name, if he was a boy, was Jacob, and he was a boy, so he was Jacob.
yeah.
But if he was a girl, he was going to be Jennifer.
Was
I
he
went,
was he born in the 80s or 90s or
99.
no,
no?
99.
99. Okay, that's because yeah, Jennifer was definitely the name of the 80s. I think there was like 5 Jennifers in my class.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it was one of the names of the 80s, big time. So yeah, but yeah, that's sort of where I get to. And then as far as like I do my with Zepbound, I do my oh, where's my brain at? I do the protein shakes or smoothies in the morning, and we do eat lots of fruit. And I know this isn't everybody's journey, but I still do a lot of fruits and vegetables. I do try to, because I learned the lesson of not doing a high protein or a flour that has protein, because I'll make my own pasta. I'll make, and that's just because I love all things Italy. I've always loved Italy, and I noticed, so in between that time, so in 2011, no, 2012, because I'd gone to Italy in 2008, gone again in 2012. I was gonna go in 2020, but then the world shut down. But so but what I noticed, 'cause I was there for a month when I went in 2012. And the one thing I noticed there was I didn't have a lot of, I would eat, I eat pasta every day? No, because that's while we have become, American Italian is very much heavy sauces and pasta and all those things.
Yeah.
While that is a staple there, it's not the primary. So the way they so when I have sat down for dinners, and this isn't everywhere, you get the antipasta, which is the olives, the meats and stuff like that, little meats, little things like that. And then you get like a vegetable, just all your veggies, and then you'll get like a pasta, like a side of pasta with something, and then you get your proteins, right? And you can have any combination of that meal in a setting, and then
So
but
that's
they,
that Mediterranean diet.
it is. It's like, and if for those of you who have Netflix out there, and I think there's even other channels that done the Blue Zone area. The blue zones, there's something happening
More
with what
people
they
live over 100 if they
more
live
people
in the
live
blue
over
zone.
100, right? And what they're
Right.
eating, but what
Yeah,
they
heard of
talk
that.
about with, because again, and I'm not getting into sort of, because I know there are people with the gluten and the celiac, all those things happening, but the process of the kneading, so you're kneading dough, kneading pasta, that sort of it has an impact on the glycemic level of foods.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that it goes away, because it's still very much there. But then there's also more like your wheat flour, your semolina flour, your doppio or 00 flour. They're higher they naturally have high protein in them, and so and then the fiber in them is a little bit higher. So again, that net carb is going to be balanced, and then because those flours have protein. But yeah, you're trading the convenience of already made for time if you're going to make those things. But you can make it once and then freeze it. So that's what I tend to
There
do
you go.
when I make that.
Great.
So it's at least easier time 2, 3, and 4, right? And it's kind of
Yeah.
fun when you open your freezer and it's like, oh, I have pasta in here. So it's kind of
Yeah.
fun. So cool. But
Very
yeah, but
cool.
it's been a neat journey. Like I've what I will say, the experience from Weight Watchers helped me to because I went through that, my ability to trust my body is going to do what it's going to do on this weight loss journey. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have as many panic attacks about losses, gains, plateaus, right? Because I did Weight Watchers for a year or whatever, and I had all those things. On Weight Watchers I averaged 1.6 pounds a week when it was finally
Which is
done.
good.
Yeah, which is good. And then, but when I look at all those dates and all those weigh-ins, there were ups, there were
Mhm.
0.1 losses, 0.2 losses, there were plateaus. Like before I went to that 2012 trip to Italy, I was in a plateau. And when I left clothes because one of the places I stayed was like a convent or whatever. I had to leave
Mhm.
clothes because I lost 11 pounds when I was in Italy.
Wow.
Because you're walking around the entire time. You're walking
Yes, you get
around,
good exercise
you
and
get
you're
good
eating some
exercise.
Mediterranean
You
diet.
mainly stand when when you eat breakfast. You're standing. It's usually like rarely do people order. Rarely do people order and sit, because one, there's a charge if you sit down. And then I found out very quickly that what we call biscotti in the north is called cantucci. And so because I asked for a coffee and an espresso and a biscotti, and they gave me 2 chocolate chip cookies. It's like, well, no, I want that. And they're like, well, that's a cantucci. And so that's the little breaded thing.
Yeah.
And so you're moving around. So but the time it was all said and done, I was just like maybe doing like an egg, because one place I stayed, they would just do a boiled egg and some fruit and stuff. And then lunch, I would eat a pretty sizable lunch over there, because I'm walking around the rest of the day. And then dinner was really relaxed, until I went to when I went to San Anello. There was again, I stayed at like in a convent there, that they part of it, they rent out rooms, but then there's a big hotel just across the street. So I'm paying like $59 or all these, but these people are paying $400 a night, but I get the same view and I get free Wi-Fi and a free breakfast. So I think I had the better deal. But I would go to their restaurant in the evening, and because I was by myself, I don't know if the wait staff and the cooks felt sorry for me because I traveled by myself. They would bring me out these like amazing food dishes, and then like they would always double my dessert. Like everybody else would get one little
Oh,
cake, I would get like 2 slices of cake, but I still lost 11 pounds. So it's like,
wow.
oh yeah, it was fun. But I learned a lot about the weight loss process in that journey, that you know, how my body reacts, right? And so this time around, I you know, I'm able to ease up a bit on what the scale says, or what or am I moving fast or quick. It's like my body's just going to do what my body's going to do to
Yeah.
any journey. But I do try to reflect. So, you know, if I do see a gain or do see a stall, I was like, well, what happened this week? It's like, and then I have Harjarine and Joe and Hermione who are in the chat. You know, first thing Hardrine's going to say to me is, well, what was your water look like? It's like, well, Hardrine, I don't want to talk about my water intake last week. It's like, or you know, Joe will say, well, I noticed you haven't talked about doing Zumba or doing your weightlifting or doing your whatever. And then it's like, it's like, and that's what I use the scale as, or use any bloating. It's like, reflect, okay, what was yesterday like? What was last week like? And that's what, and so instead of it being a curse, it's more of a, well, let's reflect on the last couple of days. Where was there stress? Where was there what was my blood sugar doing? So, but anyway, I know there's questions in the chat too. So,
and a quick question: how much weight have you lost since you started taking Mounjaro?
That's probably significant, right? That's probably significant. Yeah. So, as of, because my weigh-in day's on Wednesday, and as of last week, it was 40.8 pounds.
Wow, so you've lost 40 pounds from July to today is November 10th. That's a short period of time.
Last Wednesday, because I only confirm the weigh-in on Wednesday. I do a daily check, but so last week weigh-in was 40.8 pounds. I've lost.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And I think it's because the insulin sensitive, like because my insulin is like my insulin can, it finally can get through and do what it needs to do. And I think
it's helping to unlock all those things in your body, all those GLP-1 receptors, and opening the cells and letting the insulin and the sugar in and do all this stuff.
So if Lily, look at me, study me. I think I looked up a study the other day, and I think the closest one is in Germany. It's like, I'm not going to Germany anytime soon. It's like what's happening here? Anyway.
Very cool. All right, now let's look and see what we got. See what we got from our friends here, and check out questions and things. We got Terry in the house. She says, congratulations, Jeff, on a clean report from your doctor. So happy for you both. Praying for continued healing. Thanks so much, Terry. Appreciate that. And Barb, health at any cost, says, hi, Terry. Jeff, so thrilled you're still clear of cancer. Yay. So happy for you. And Grant's in the house and says, thank the Lord for Jeff's good report. Thanks so much. Hey, we got Joe's sleep and slim down journey, and she is a hoot and holler good time too. Yes. I'd like to have you at some point, Joe, as a guest on my Anchor Moments show. So just email me, Gina@anchormoments.com, and we'll get something set up. And Joe says, such wonderful news, Jeff. Really pleased for you and your family. Aw, thanks so much. And so nice to see everyone that's able to make it early.
Oh no, yeah. And we waited through the technical stuff, so that's good.
Yeah. We even have Mounjaro Journey India in the house. Hamani, maybe is how.
Hamani, that's right.
Yeah. And Harjarine. Yay! She's here for both of us. And let's see. Then people saying hi to each other. And and Hamani says, so excited for this live. It's my first time hearing your live. I know, I'm so excited to have you here. And people are saying hi to each other. More highs. Let's see here. And we got Mayor Mindy in the house, and she's sneak watching at work. Thanks, Mindy. Good. And let's see, more thanks to everyone. Yeah, more people saying hi. Looking to see if I can find any questions. Grant's watching at work too. And more hellos. Let's see if we have any more.
I think there's a question. If you it would be maybe 1 or 2:04 your time, maybe, Amy.
Okay. Yeah, because so more people saying hi to each other. Oh, and Juanita Jones says, I'm one of those types of people that has to have everything in order before I actually start trying things. Yeah.
Understood, yeah.
And more just hellos. Barb likes the field that you have behind
so I took this picture. This is in front of my yard. This is called Amy, I think you were there when I talked about it. It's an oh gosh, I'm gonna forget. It's like a some people call it a red spider iris or something like that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Or like a hurricane iris. That's not the correct. It's like let's see. That's not the correct name. But it's the first time I have ever seen it in my yard. But apparently you have to be careful about you have to be careful about animals around it. Apparently it's it can be poisonous to them. Is that the right word? Yeah, poisonous. But it's called, what is the original? I'll look it up and put it in the chat because I'm not finding it right now. Let's see.
Thank you to those of you who contributed for the crash helmet. I'll keep trying to block as I can.
Oh, here it is. It's a lily, but it's a
beautiful lily.
Lycoris radiata. Lycoris radiata, known as the hurricane lily, because it usually comes up after a big rain or whatever. But hurricane lily, surprise lily, resurrection lily, red spider lily, all the words.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
Mindy says, remember, creatine is usually not recommended for those with kidney issues like CKD. Make sure you check before you start any supplements. Always good to ask your doctor.
We are not doctors.
We're not doctors. Just I'm your sister from another mister, brother from another mother. Even Calamity Jane, she's experienced a lot of medical stuff, but it's not a doctor.
Right. Yeah. Always for any, and y'all said it at the beginning, like everything medicine, over the counter supplement, always make sure your doctor knows, because the amount of things that can have interactions on other things is quite insane.
We even told our doctor about the Flintstones vitamins.
I love that. Yeah. And Gina, just a heads up, because we do our behind the scenes at in about 17 minutes or so. But I think if you seek Amy,
2:05.
It's been 2:04 your time, because she just asked, would you recommend a book?
Here we go.
Pancreas for someone. No. Barb answered that one.
There we go.
Yep. So would you?
If you seek Amy K. Recommend a book I like, A Pancreas for Someone Who's Just Insulin Resistant. So that one pancreas book that you were talking about.
Think like a pancreas. I would recommend it for anyone with diabetes. It's even
type 1 or 2.
He talks about both, because he kind of describes it like different flavors of ice cream. So vanilla is type 1, chocolate is type 2, which no one should think too hard on that description, but then I think like type 1.5, which is that Lata, he called it like cookies and cream. Ooh. So yeah, it's a good one.
Tell him just a sec, or if they could call back in 5 minutes. Let's see. Oh, and Marta's lost 40 pounds.
Oh, congratulations, Marta! Yeah.
And Barb was a midwife for 32 years, researched the genetics of type 1, and yes, possible in utero beginnings of type 1.
Yeah, Barbara, we need to connect. I would love to know more. Yeah, just what you discovered in your research.
Yeah. And Joe likes the book, Jason Fung's The Diabetes Code, Prevent and Reverse Type 2 Diabetes Naturally. And let's see, people saying being really nice to each other.
Yeah.
I think the medication really makes the choice to take care of your health much easier.
100%. Yep.
100%.
Yeah. I see my doctor tomorrow. I'm going to show him all the data, and just, it's like, this is what we don't have to go deep down this road, but this is what, the PMBs are doing this in 26. What needs to happen to stay on this med? I mean, I'm prepared to pay out of pocket if I need to, but if insurance can cover something, that would be my preference.
Yeah.
So,
And Paula really appreciates you educating us on type 1 diabetes. And she said she tried Trulicity before she could try Mounjaro, but Trulicity didn't work for her. And Barb says Trulicity isn't for weight loss, but to lower glucose. It's stupid they make people try it first. However, I lost over 80 pounds on Trulicity.
there you
I
go.
tell people it was the diarrhea I had.
No, that's true. Like, well, Barb and Paula just know that I never even opened that box of Trulicity until this year when I took it to one of those, those drug recycle. You know how some police stations or hospitals will have where you can
Right.
recycle unused medicine. So that's where I took that box that I got in
Mhm.
22. And then Harjareen had a question. Oh, well, no,
Yeah,
I
here's
think
hers. Can you have type 2 and then be diagnosed with type 1?
so no, so
Question.
it's possible. So you have type 2 and then be diagnosed. So you can have type 2 and then eventually your insulin is just not functioning, and so then you have to be on insulin. So that kind of was like my dad's story. He was type 2, but it just none of he had to get on insulin because of just the resistance. Can you have type 2 and then so yeah, so if there is something that impacts or injures your pancreas, so it might be for a different reason. Resistance, you'll still carry that type 2 diagnosis because it's essentially resistance. But let's say you had pancreatitis or you had an injury to your pancreas that causes that damage, then you will more than likely be on insulin because you no longer have the thing that produces insulin. So, but you will still carry that diagnosis of type 2 because there is resistance. Because not every type 1 gets resistance. So it's a complicated. The primary diagnosis will still be the type 2 though. But there are
Yeah.
other reasons why you might have to get
Yeah.
on insulin
And
as a type 2.
Paula's brother went from a type 2 to a type 1.
Yeah.
And Cindy says she had hyperplasia complex A and was told that it would end up being 4-stage cervical cancer. And I was lucky and
Wow.
blessed I made it through that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amen,
And that's what
Taz.
my
Yeah.
doctor said. I had hyperplasia and precancerous stuff. And if I wouldn't have had my hysterectomy when I did, a year later, I would have had full-blown cancer. So it's really important to take care of yourself quick so they can catch things easier. And let's see. Grant says, I had a bit of a scare this week, which turned into a win. I had 3 nights worth of low sugar in the 60s and ended up finding out that my CGM had been on faulty after pricking my finger and checking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen. So I tend to check mine. Well, with this sensor, I do once a day collaborations with the current sensor I have, but I tend to still do the fingerprint just to make sure this is collaborated correctly. Hydration will impact your sensor's reading because again, it's doing that interstitial fluid. I'm not saying it right. Fluid within the cells and stuff like that. So staying hydrated does help with your sensor readings. Did she say yay on chocolate? I love you,
Yeah.
Mindy. Oh, that's when I was talking about the different types of, and yeah, I forget what he described as mint chocolate, but yeah, he went through all that. I think there was a strawberry. I forget what, he gave all the diabetes types, ice cream name. And there's a type 5 now, which is, they're studying it. It's mainly seen in, kind of the third world countries. It's related to severe malnutrition as children. Can end up developing a form. I think it mimics things from both type 1 and type 5, but again, that information just came out, like, I think in August or something like that, August, September. They
Yeah.
started talking about that.
Yep.
So,
all right. Well, I promised Calamity Jane that I would let her go at 3:00, but guess what? If you want to hear more from her, she's going to be doing a live on her channel, and I want you to look her up. Calamity Jane's JC Calamity Jane. Her channel, she has a lot of chickens and wait, where's that slideshow? We'll just flip through fast. She's got chickens. Get to the slideshow. We'll just go floop, 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 floop. She's got chickens. She has a really great garden with lots of fresh vegetables and things. She has a really fun channel, and I love all of the videos she has about her chickens because they are so stinking cute, and they all look a little different. Yeah, and that was her after she did Weight Watchers and lost that 100 pounds. But yeah, so lots of fun stuff. There's one of her chickens there on her shoulder. And look at all of her little chickens. And they don't even look the same. They have all those cute different little colors. And she has more baby chickens hatching and all kinds of fun stuff.
That's your call.
And that is my doctor. And did I already lose Jane? Because I know I was going to let Jane go here. All right, I think Jane may have left because she's got to start. She had to fly the coop to go to her channel real quick because she's doing a live there in a few minutes.
You got to answer your phone.
And I've got to get my nurse. I have a nurse that calls that checks up on my diabetes. And
all right, I'll say goodbye for you.
Too. All right, everybody, hold on to your anchor moments and make it a great day. Thanks for showing up. Bye-bye. Love you guys. Mwah.